Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live version of the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Ryan. This is your host, Penny, and I want to make a few quick announcements in regards to what we plan on doing with our lives and our normal episodes. We said, I can't remember if it was last week, I'm pretty sure it was, where we didn't want to stray away from, what the podcast was originally made for. So what we're going to be doing is our live streams are going to be more the personal side of things, kind of like last week's live. And we'll also have normal episodes if the lives don't work for you, like if they're too personal. We'll have the normal episodes for you to watch that are focused more on, the encouragement side of things. But we don't want to neglect the normal episodes of things because we have a lot of people from other platforms that also listen to us. And obviously our lives are exclusive to YouTube currently. So there's that. So I do want to thank you for joining us again this week for another live. This one is going to be just as intense as real as the last one. If you haven't seen it, it's in our live section on YouTube. But if you want to go ahead and get started on your side of things, we can get this train rolling.
Yes, we will. So again, like Brian said, we just want to welcome you to our live video, all of our regular viewers and any new viewers that have decided to come in tonight. I hope you are ready for any questions that you might have.
Yes.
Especially my students from school. I know a lot of you watch, and I'm encouraging you to be here tonight and have encouraged you too. But I just want to start with our disclaimer. So you okay?
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, so
ignore me.
It's easy to do. Okay, we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We are not given any medical or psychological advice. We are just simply here to discuss real life situations to give hope, encouragement, and instill change.
I do want to say real quick before you begin, in regards to anybody that has questions, for those of you that watch this after we post show, if you have any questions, I encourage you to write them down and wait till we do our next live, because I like to answer things through my words as opposed to typing. So if you forget to ask or you're not able to attend the live, definitely write them down and get us on our next live. And your questions, throw what you can at me.
Don't make them easy.
No, I will. It's like I said last week, I will give you answers. You may not like them, but I will give you answers.
Right. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Because we're all at different places in our life.
That's the whole point of learning and growing, is to get other perspectives.
Yes.
Getting ideas from people and hearing something you may not have heard before.
Right.
But I always encourage people when I talk to random people or I'm in my debates, for people to hit me with hard questions. If I can't answer it, I will tell you I can't. But most of the time, I'll have an answer.
Right. But it's good because we get perspectives on both sides, and we can learn from each other. Like, we don't know everything.
And I do want to say that just because I can give you an answer doesn't mean that I believe in my head that I'm always right. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm humble in that regard, because just because I give you an answer, it's the best answer I can give.
For now. Until we keep digging.
I always learn new things every day. I've learned some things this past week. So I just want you to know that it's not me thinking I know better than you or that I have all the answers, but it's just like, I've asked myself the hard questions throughout the years. So I've had to find answers that sometimes I didn't even like. So I'm just saying, give me what you got.
Right. Because I learn every day too, just like you. And when I think I know what I know and I've arrived, I find out that maybe that situation or those questions that were answered are wrong.
Yeah, or wrong, or
misleading,
misinterpreted. There's a lot of different things that I've learned myself through things that I've looked up and things that I've researched. And yeah, it's every day. The thing I like about, for me personally, I'm only speaking for myself, is somebody that likes to do as much research as I do into certain things. The thing that I like is that, and I think you mentioned it last week too, is that there's never a finish line. There's never an end.
Nope.
You find one answer, two more questions pop up.
Yep.
And I think that's a good thing.
Right.
because it shows that life is deeper than what we think.
We're deeper.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too, Brian, is that if you have the mindset that you've arrived and you can't learn anymore, then that means you're not growing.
Well, I think that when you get to that point in your life, if you ever believe you do, I think that's you just not pushing hard enough.
Or maybe you don't want to believe what,
or maybe,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
You don't want to
You
change
don't-
because you're comfortable.
You don't want to believe, you don't want to. I actually have friends in real life that I've spoken to about some of these things, and they will tell me they don't want to know anymore. And I'm like, why? And like, because it's too much.
It's
Like,
scary.
I literally don't want to know. And I'm just like, you've just limited yourself.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So before we jump in here, I just wanted to say hi to a couple people who have jumped in, which I'm really happy about. So Jessica, yes, my shirt, and I will explain that later. That's one of my students, so hi. And Aunt Sandra from Lethbridge, I'm glad you're on. I want to hear some questions from you too, Aunt Sandra, because I know she's a person who digs deep, and she's taught me a lot. And some of this stuff has taken me down some paths that I've had to literally stop in the middle of that path to regroup, because it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole paradigm changes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, everything I've learned in life has been a lie. And that's scary. I shut the front door. Okay, so Jessica said, I think that's why religion and politics are forbidden topics. It's too hard for people to dig into other than their own. That's good, because, oh boy, he's excited because that's where the podcast is going tonight. And now I'm scared. So no, I like to keep an open mind. I think it's calm down. I think it's good. So I'm going to start with this, and then we're going to keep going. But I want to hear some good questions and some comments, because we're not offended by them. That's where you are in your journey, and it's okay. I want you to know right now, no matter what you say, nothing's going to surprise us. It's you.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell my students. It's you. It's your journey. There's no right. There's no wrong. It's where you're at, and people have to respect that.
Yeah. I think it's more along, and I'll comment on that, Jessica. But the thing for me is, like, when you say there's no right or wrong in a person's journey, I agree with you, but I do believe there is a lie and there's a truth.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But how do you know what that is? I know we're moving here a little faster, but how do you know until you dig? Like,
that's what I mean.
Right. Because, like,
when you say there's no right or wrong, that tells me that you just haven't dug deep enough.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Because I lived my whole life under a religion that I would have died for, thinking that that was the truth.
Yeah.
And the more I dug, I found out I've been lied to more than I was told the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense? So now I'm like having to rethink my whole life. And sometimes it's like, and that's just for me.
Yeah.
I know you believe a lot of what I believe, but there are things that you and I do not agree on. Yeah. And you know what? It's okay.
I will comment on that, though, and I 100% agree with you, Jessica. The thing with, and I'll start with religion. The thing that I hate about religion is, and I know a lot of people argue that Christianity and religion are the same thing. My argument is, when it comes to religion, right, there's always this idea of, what do I need to do to obtain God's grace? What do I need to do to be a good person, right? What do I have to do through my own works? Faith is separate from that, because faith tells me that it's already done. Faith tells me that I can't and don't have to do anything to obtain the grace that God gave to me as a free gift. So when people have these conversations about religion, you got to take your eyes off the self and focus on what is already done.
I love that. And there's so much freedom in that.
There is freedom. And that's what true faith is. And it's amazing to me how many debates I listen to and nobody brings that up. Nobody ever brings that up. like Christianity, like I asked myself when I first became a believer, and I said this in last week's live, but what makes this faith unique?
Yeah, you did say that.
What makes this unique? What makes Christianity different than Buddhism, Hinduism, all of these other religions? And the one common denominator that I found is that I must do something
To obtain.
or I must do something
To be-
alongside grace. And that's the interesting thing about faith, is that you waste your entire life trying to do everything right just to mess up one day
And start over.
and start all over again.
It's exhausting.
And it brings guilt
and shame.
and shame, because you can go an entire week without doing anything wrong, and all it takes is one mistake for you to have to start all over again. To me, that sounds like bondage. Doesn't it?
Yes.
It sounds
And
like
it's hard to live up to that expectation. You can't.
No person can be perfect on this planet, whether it's by just good morals or faith. Because think about it. In Christianity, if Jesus died on the cross for our sins, right? But I still have to do something to acquire the grace that he offered, I would argue that makes his sacrifice on the cross kind of inefficient. Why couldn't God have just started up another covenant like he did hundreds of other times in the Bible and force humanity to do this, do that, do that? You know, that was the whole point of the sacrifice, is to absolve your flesh from your spirit, to, in a sense, circumcise your flesh from your spirit. When God sees you, he doesn't see your sin. He sees what Christ did for you. You are free. You are no longer held bondage by the sin that holds all of humanity back. That's the difference between a sinner, or I shouldn't say sinner, because we're all sinners, but between a saved person and a non-saved, is that it's just the blood. It's just the sacrifice. It's the acknowledgement of that. It's the acceptance of it. And a lot of people, especially very religious people, and I know some in real life personally, who would look at me and think, you don't have to do anything to gain God's grace. No, I don't, because I can't. I literally can't.
No.
I could, like I said, I can go a day without doing anything wrong in the eyes of God. But again, what happens the next day when I do? And do you think it catches God off guard? Like, do you think he's up in heaven right now looking at all the good deeds that I do throughout the week and think, you better not, you better not? Oh, he did. No, he didn't. He doesn't do that.
Right.
God sees life as a finished book. He lives past, present, and future. He's omniscient. He's omnipresent. So from that perspective of Jesus being the ultimate sacrifice, he sees my life as a finished story. I'm free.
Right.
And that's the grace that God gives.
You mean there isn't bondage, Brian, from the things that you do? Like, I'll use this myself as an example, because I grew up in a religion to where, let's just take rock music. I listen to it. I enjoy it. Do I listen to it all the time? I listen to it most times. And I was taught that if I listen to that, I'm going to hell.
In that, see, Christians who believe that there are certain things in life that are considered evil, right? Rock music, tattoos, smoking,
Vaping.
drinking, vaping. Think of anything you would imagine a secular person doing, right? If people point to that and say, that's not Christ-like, that's not Christian, then you have just completely ripped a part out in the Bible that says God can turn anything around for good for those who love him.
Right.
Now you could think, how can a tattoo glorify God?
It can.
It can.
It can, because it's the intent of the heart.
It's the heart. It's the choice of will. It's the intent.
Mhm.
Because when I do these things, I don't do them to, what's the word? I had a word for it. I don't do these things to spite God. I don't do these things in rebellion.
Right.
I do them because it's just, that's life. And sometimes I like listening to rock music. I listen to a lot of Christian rock. And sometimes I can get emotional through the words that some of these Christian rock bands say.
Mhm.
Like, I recommend, and Mom, I don't know if you want to write it out in the chat, but it's called Executioner from Disciple.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That is a very good song, but it's a rock song. But if you look up the lyrics to that song,
Hmm.
oh my God.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It brings a whole different perspective to like what people aren't hearing anymore.
Hmm.
You know, because the
Mhm.
church, I don't go to church anymore.
Nope.
And I haven't for years.
Me either.
And
I'm done with that.
people have told me like,
I'm done
but
with
doesn't
it.
the Bible say don't forsake the assembly? No, it says do not forsake the assembling of yourselves to each other. Paraphrasing.
Right.
But that's being with other like-minded believers.
Right.
It's not the building,
Hmm.
it's the fellowship,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And it's about surrounding yourself in that same
With like
atmosphere.
people, but you
with-
don't have to do it in church.
Exactly.
Or in a gathering or of whatever you think that might be.
Yeah.
You know, and Aunt Sandra had said this, and I'll just read exactly how she's got it here. She said, Jesus said, come follow. He didn't say, come worship me. Yet how many songs are about let us worship him? And then she also said that we are divine beings having a human experience. That means we're more than what we think we are.
Yeah.
And then Jessica said, to me, gathering to worship is a cult. And I agree with all of this, and I'll tell you why. That's the reason I don't go to church anymore. Because
I
this
agree.
is all three of those comments are exactly right, because we are divine human beings trying to find our place in life, right?
Yeah.
We're excelling, but because I was brought up like that, Jessica, where I was made to go to church because the four walls is where it happened. You know what I mean? And then I found out that was
Well, it's amazing to me
not
how
true.
it's amazing to me how the church has always been this place of like acceptance and worship. Yet,
You're going there.
how many times have you seen the church open its doors for people off the street?
Or talk about the example that happened to you.
Which one? Which one?
Well, I'm thinking of that one, but that was part of the reason why you didn't go anymore. I think the church.
I think the
setting
church, I'm not
is-
talking about the people in it.
No.
Okay, because I know there's probably really good people in the church. I'm talking about the church as a concept has failed society
Thank you.
by closing its doors, shutting its windows,
Yes.
and just staying inside four walls.
Yep.
And I have seen people come into the church desperate for hope to be turned down and judged by the people in it. Myself included.
I know.
And to me, Jesus, when he was alive 2,000 years ago, he went to the lowest of the low.
He did.
He never went to the rich and famous.
Or the
He
people
al-
that were religious.
Or the people that were
Oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that.
he who is without sin cast the first stone. Anyway,
Thank you.
the concept of true faith is not judging your brother based on their circumstances. It is going to them with a loving and accepting heart, knowing that this is a person who needs hope, knowing that this is a person who needs love and acceptance because they can't find it anywhere else. I don't care how you dress. I don't care about the tattoos that litter your body. I don't see that.
Oh,
I see a hurting and dying soul who just wants to be accepted and know that there's something more to life than what they get.
you mean help them in their journey, Brian?
Imagine.
Imagine what kind of world we would live in.
That's what makes Christianity so unique, is because we offer a hope beyond ourselves. We don't tell people pray 5 times a day. We don't tell people to go into the mountains and meditate for 5 years. We don't go and no, we offer them love.
Mm-hmm.
We offer them something they've never had before.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a feeling. We are representatives of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
We give the love that he gave us.
Yeah.
Regardless of how they look.
Or what they do.
Come to me as you are.
Right. Because religion is work-based.
Religion is very work-based.
And love is not.
and I know you were taught this way too, and I'll get to the political side of it, Jessica. I don't want you to think I'm ignoring that part. But when it comes to faith, when I was brought up in the church, I shouldn't say faith, religion. I prayed every night before I went to bed, asking God to forgive me of the sins that I knowingly or unknowingly committed throughout the day, right?
Right.
And I always thought that was good, right? Ask God to forgive me of my sins every day. What if I woke up the next morning, hypothetically, and I committed a sin, again, whether knowing or unknowing, and I got into a serious life-altering situation or possibly fatal, and I didn't ask God to forgive me?
Now what?
Now what? Is the blood of Christ on you temporary, or is it eternal,
Mhm.
based on the faith that you have for him?
Right.
These are the hard questions,
Yeah.
because to me, a person who acknowledges that they have to abide by certain laws or standards is something that cannot be achieved by humans naturally.
hmm
Is there something that was said?
Yeah, I'm reading. Just keep going.
Okay.
I'll read it to you in a minute.
But that was the thing that destroyed me.
Yeah. And that's what religion does.
As I grew in my religion, is that I started to realize that the standards of salvation were
Unattainable.
and impossible.
Yep.
Because it doesn't fit under our covenant with Christ now. It can't. It all comes from the heart, the intention.
Everything's about the heart.
It's always about the heart and the intention. God sees past you. He doesn't see your body. He sees you. That's the difference.
Right. Well, and the thing with religion, like what you were just saying, Brian, that kind of destroyed it for me also is because you have people who tell you what to do and not do standing up there. And yet you find out that they have skeletons in their closet too. So you know what? I'll tell you when you can judge me, when I can clean out your closet.
Yeah.
How about we do that?
Or like you said last week, worry about the log in your own eye before you worry about the speck in your brother's.
Right. And I think a lot of time, going back to what Aunt Sandra said about we're divine beings having a human experience, I think what people forget is that they teach us to look at the body, the soul, and the spirit, when actually we should look at the spirit, the soul, and then the body. Because the spirit is that's where your heart intention comes from. That's where it's all wrapped up in, right?
Yeah.
That's you.
That's you. Yeah.
That's everything about you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are great questions. So Jessica, going back to her question, she said, no, I was just making a statement. She said, not saying you have to speak on either, but I would love, in all capital letters, to hear your political views. Oh God, Jessica, you don't know what you're asking.
Well, I mean, we can go back on the religion topic, but we can talk about this for a moment. When it comes to my political views, I don't subscribe to Republican or Democrat. I subscribe as an American.
Okay.
Somebody who values life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, abiding by the laws of our Constitution and our country. Is our country perfect? No. No country is. But I can tell you one thing, that as an American citizen, I had pledged an allegiance to my flag and my God, that I would do everything within my power as an American to uphold the values that make this country great. That's what I believe in a real American should be. I don't like the parties. There are some things on both sides that I do agree with, some things on both sides that I don't. But anybody that comes to the table professing that one is right and one is wrong is somebody that, in my opinion, is brainwashed. Both sides, not just one or the other. And the point that I make from that is, which side promotes hate?
Oh.
Both sides can, and both sides do. However, I would wager there's one side, and I'm not going to say which one. I'll let you figure out which side. But I wager there's one side that prefaces more on name calling, accusing, hatred, violence, death. You tell me which side in your own heart. Don't tell me, but in your own heart, you tell me which one you think is more right or more wrong. I don't wish violence or any kind of thing on anyone who has an opposing political view to me because I value them as a human. I see them as an American, somebody who upholds the values that make this country great. And for that, that's my concept on it.
Wow, that's good. I like that. Okay, we'll come back. Keep asking the questions, guys. I like this. So in our last podcast, which was last week, we talked about transformation through your journey. We talked about respecting and encouraging others as to where they are in their journey. We kind of touched on that right now. That we shouldn't tell people what to believe or judge people for what they believe. We should guide and not divide in our differences, that we have found that we are very much alike. It's about holding yourself at a higher standard by showing empathy, compassion, and love instead of judging. Finding ways to agree to disagree by being patient and respectful of where others are in their journey. We are all individuals trying to find our truths, right? Your truth, my truth, the truth. We are not cookie cutter individuals. In our differences, we all bring something to the table. And I'm going to stop right there for a minute before I read on. So Jessica had mentioned my shirt. And I don't know how much of it y'all can see, but it says G don't judge. And the behind that, the saying is that with my students, I always tell them, you can talk to me about anything. I'm never going to judge you or, sway your opinion or make you think this or that. No, because it's you and you're on your journey. And they call me G because that's the first letter of my last name. So I just want them to know that they can be comfortable with me. They don't have to feel like they're going to be criticized or I love them. And that's what it comes down to. Love never fails. And without love, there is no acceptance.
Yeah.
There's always division. There's always hatred. There's always, you're not going to get anywhere with that.
No.
Without love, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So,
and that kind of
No, go
goes
ahead.
in line with the whole political climate of like labeling somebody something because of their beliefs instead of getting to know them for their beliefs.
You mean getting to know people for who they are? What?
People can have differing views on things. That doesn't mean it's going to be like,
It doesn't make them a
It's not-
bad person. It
it's
just
not the
makes
end-
them
it's-
who they are.
it's not the end of the world,
No. And through that, people change their minds.
I've changed a lot of people's minds and some people have changed my mind.
Who knew?
Nothing in an honest person's heart is set in stone, and the idea that speaking on politics or religion cannot be brought to a different perspective based on where you're at in your life's journey doesn't make you a bad person. I can't label anybody,
You shouldn't.
and you shouldn't. Exactly.
No, and that's what I tell my students is I look at them as human beings moving through their life on their own journey.
People change their minds all the time as they grow up.
Right. I mean, I never thought even 3 years ago, being brought up in the religion that I was brought in, that I would be thinking the way I do today.
Case in point.
Yeah, let's keep going. So we defined transformation, and what it meant was a complete change in the appearance or character of something or someone, especially so that thing or person is improved. Now that's like an outside appearance. On this line, it says a profound internal spiritual change from the inside out, not just a change in inward behavior. So that's more from like a heart spiritual standpoint. So did you want to add anything before I go on?
No, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
I will say that I do agree with what Jessica just said in the chat. Being in a bad place doesn't make you a bad person. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like assuming the person that you're talking to is 100% wrong on everything they're saying, it doesn't make them a bad person. It just makes them ill-informed.
Right.
Or in like you just said, in a place in their life where they don't know enough, or they could be ignorant. There's a lot of other factors, but it doesn't make them a bad person.
Right. Or I'm going to add something to that. Or what they're doing is bad. Who are you to judge that?
I guess it depends on the context of the bad, because I know there are things in life that are objectively bad, but subjective bad, or I should say subjective good and bad, it's just that it's subjective.
Right.
It's based on context. It's based on personal experience, personal preference. It has no right or wrong. It's neutral, is what I'm saying. Like for me, right? When I see a person smoking a cigarette, I can tell them that, hey, that's not good for you. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell them to stop doing it, because it's not my place to do that. They're their own person.
Right.
They can make their own choices. Now, a lot of people would argue, well, yeah, if you tell them it's bad and you try to tell them why it's bad, it's because you care about them. No, that's me being controlling. That's me just being controlling. Bare bones, that's what it is.
How about you love them instead?
Sometimes being compassionate towards somebody's situation can be a lot more of an encouragement to get them to quit a bad habit than it would be to make them not.
Right. Just let them be.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah. And if they do end up hurting themselves in the long run, that was their choice.
Oh, you mean people are allowed to make their own choices, Brian, without being judged?
And yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Imagine the concept.
Imagine it, friend. So I found this quote, and I don't know who it's from, but when I found it, I was like, wow, this is good. This hits home. So it's called Transformation Doesn't Live in Your Comfort Zone.
Mm.
So people avoid transformation because it requires growth and discomfort. And we as humans love comfort. It's the moment you realize everything I was taught might not be true. So what is it? It's the willingness to step out, question everything, even the hard questions, to challenge yourself. Transformation asks you to grow, to evolve, to become free. It wants expansion, truth, and remembrance. So shout out to the ones walking on the edge, the ones choosing the path of truth, the seekers, the disruptors, the ones willing to take a little uncomfortable paths because they know.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, it's true.
And it's all true. It's very uncomfortable. I'm still on that journey.
Well, it's just like with innovation with technology. It was always the outliers who decided to go outside of the box to come up with some of the most amazing inventions that we have today. They asked the hard questions, or they stumbled onto something and explored. You know what I'm saying? They didn't just stick with the status quo, because if we did, people would still believe the earth was flat. It's the idea of expression through action, exploration, and willingness to learn. And all of that works together to help advance not just you, but it could even help advance society.
Right.
We work together.
That's a good concept.
Unfortunately, it's a concept that the world today doesn't seem to get.
I think the world, for the most part, Brian, and I'll go back a little bit to religion, they don't like the work together thing. And I think a lot of it is because there's no control.
Oh, we just hit a spot.
There's no control in the work.
Are you telling me that mainstream religion is all about control and dominance?
It is.
As opposed to love and mercy? I'm being sarcastic. I know it is, but it's funny to me how people don't see it. And I think it has a lot to do with the bondage that people are in.
It's comfortable.
Bingo.
Until one day something happens and you wake up and you're like, whoa. And then your whole life changes. And then you start really digging, because that lie turned to that lie, and then that one became that lie. And then you just can't stop seeing the lies. And then you find out that you're free because all of a sudden you're not controlled anymore.
I wonder if that has anything to do with the reason why the Pharisees hung Christ. Because he said some things that made them uncomfortable. Just saying.
Okay, we're going to keep going. So we've talked about transformation in your journey last week. So tonight we're going to talk about exploring through your journey. So we're going to move a little bit further. So what does exploring through your journey mean to you, Brian?
To me, it means taking the journey, but willing to take the steps to go off the path. You know, again, like I said earlier, breaking the status quo, not follow somebody else because they may be in a better position than you, but follow your own journey because that's the path you need to take. Explore, take the risks, go out of your comfort zone, out of your bubble.
Right.
Be willing to always ask the hard questions of life. That's how I see it.
Nice. Nice. So, where am I here? All right. So to me, exploring your journey means pretty much like you, means to dig and question everything.
Yeah.
Even if it means you're going to find out maybe some of the things you believed and still believe are true, but you might find out that some of those things you were lied to. And I think that's the hardest part. And I don't think that people, I'll take myself again as an example. I don't think that the people that did it, and I'm glad that that glass was finally broken, but I don't think that the people that did it to me did it maliciously. It's just circumstances in life that made me step back and was like,
It's a misinterpretation in context.
right.
They read something or they see something and they just roll with it because it sounds good or it feels good or it brings the right message. A lot of times you can examine something based on the context of what is being talked about.
Yes.
Like, you know, we can use the same example with tattoos.
Mhm.
You know, the Bible does say, do not mark yourselves or put tattoos on yourself. But what's the context? That's the part that people miss.
Tell us, Brian.
Tell us. Well, if you go back and read the context of that time period, a lot of cults and religions at the time were marking themselves with the names of their dead gods and the gods that they worshiped. And at the time, God did not want people to worship him that same way. It was a time period. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's the whole point.
Right.
Is that it was because of the false idea of God being lumped into the sum with the rest of them.
Right.
Now today, under our new covenant, because that's what we're in, when Jesus rose from the dead, a new covenant of grace began, that law no longer applies because we are not marking ourselves with the names of gods. We mark ourselves with the name of our God.
Are you saying tattoos are okay?
Yes, absolutely.
They are.
Yeah,
Right.
of course they're okay.
And that's one.
Because it's not about the tattoo itself. It's the intent behind it.
Thank you. Everything you do is about the intent.
Yeah.
I like that.
The way I had observed the new covenant, and you know, I know not everybody watching probably has read the Bible or read it in its entirety, but the one thing that I noticed is that the thing that I picked up on in the new covenant is that everything is permitted, but not everything's beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
obviously there are risks with tattoos. You know what I'm saying? You can get infections, irritations, they fade over time. But does that make me lose my salvation?
No.
Exactly. And context is important.
Right. Right. And Aunt Sandra said here, Jesus didn't come to start another religion, but to awaken us to who you already are. He encourages us to find ourselves. That's why our spirits are so important. And where's that found? It's found in our heart. That's why we need to really dig in to that, because we find ourselves in it.
Yeah.
We are more than what we think we are. And some of the things that I found about who we are as humanity, I won't go into it tonight, but
there's more to us than we think there is. And I agree with you, Jessica. they didn't have good looking tattoos back then.
She said, kidding. I love that. Oh my goodness.
Well, you also got to understand the context of how they had tattoos back then. We're not talking about tattoos that they used like we do today.
Right. They
A
were
lot of the-
specific. Well,
well,
they are today, but
Not that they were not that they were just specific, but the way that you would get tattoos back then were very brutal compared to
Barbaric.
today. Yeah.
yeah.
They had to harm themselves,
hmm
you know, 'cause they weren't, it's not like they walked into an ink shop. You know what I'm saying? So it's the context, it's back then referring to, it was the context, it was the method and the purpose.
Right. Yeah. So if you want a tattoo, go get one.
Yeah.
I've already picked out a couple for you.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's keep
Well,
going.
maybe one of these live streams, when I finally get it, I can show you guys.
That'll be awesome. All right, where we are here. So we should encourage people to explore by asking the hard questions. When asking the hard questions, we are challenged, and without the challenge, we won't change. We need to inspire others to aspire, to help others to find their truth in their journey. You talked about that earlier, Brian, about tearing people down, and that's not a good thing.
No.
So we have found in our discussion that there are things that we don't always agree on. And in our last podcast, we shared a little bit about ourselves. So tonight, we just want to throw out any opportunity for you guys to throw out those questions and comments, which you are doing. But is there anywhere else tonight, Brian, that you want to take this, like maybe a little bit something more specific, like your journey?
Did you talk a lot about yourself last time? I don't remember. Like, maybe we can have the audience, of course, give their input, but what is it about your journey that makes the things that I've told you kind of awaken to it, if you will?
That's good. So being brought up in a religious background, like I said, I never would have thought about like doing things like vaping or having a tattoo or listening to rock music or any of those things because it was just not permitted.
Yeah.
So you opened up my eyes to a lot of those things the way you explained it earlier, right? That it's the intent of the heart that God looks at. But for me, what really, really opened my eyes is when Mom passed away. And I had given this story in another podcast about how, believe it or not, it was more church people than not would. And again, I'm not knocking any of them. I love them. It's just that, and I don't think they were trying to do it maliciously. Thank you.
Maliciously.
Yeah, words are hard. And even at the time, you know, being what it was, I don't think that they were doing it that way because they seen me in a really bad state with just losing Mom. But one of them had said to me that, you know, if you would have only had enough faith, she would have lived. Or if you would have done this, she would have lived. Or you would have done that works, right?
I remember you mentioning that last week.
And I thought, so then after she did pass away, I was like, but I did everything that I knew possible and maybe even more.
Mhm.
So at what point could I have done more? At what point did I fail? Because now I've got guilt.
Yeah.
And I beat myself up a long time for that. That's why I say words are important. And I tell my students this, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I'll throw this out too. Be careful when you say something to somebody, because maybe that wasn't the time. But now I look at it not with hatred, because it's opened up my paradigm now, right? To explore, to look, because I probably would have never taken the road that I've taken now to look at things differently.
Yeah.
And now I'm finding out that there were just not a lot of truths to it.
Yeah. And see, that's the problem when it comes to people that say terrible things to people, whether or not it's intentional or not, or it's malicious or not. you have to ask yourself, is that something that I would like to have somebody say to me?
Mm. Yeah.
And it is the golden rule, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. And that goes both ways, by the way. Um, it's always a matter of knowing who you're talking to, what they're going through. You can't stop yourself from doing bad things. We're human. We make mistakes all the time. It's the intention behind your actions that matter.
Always. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what opened it up to me. And now I'm just like Aunt Sandra, being divine. I'm really finding out some things that your world can change just by simply the words you speak and who you are inside.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So,
it can help shift your perspective on everything.
mhm.
Because if you exercise negativity will be attracted to you. It's like the exact opposite of a magnet. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because you put the north and south ends of a magnet to each other, they repel. With bad feelings and bad intentions, they'll draw others like that to you.
Mhm.
Or even, I dare say, for lack of other wording, the energy that's surrounded by that will attract itself to you. And the interesting thing is that I don't know if anybody else has ever noticed, I know I have, but it's a lot easier to observe anger and hatred that grows, right? But when you try to be nice to people,
Mhm.
the niceness that you project, it almost feels like you're having a war with yourself. Like you want to continue being nice, but being nice is not easy. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, keep going. I've got a couple questions in my head.
Yeah. Cuz like I try to be nice to people. Not perfect, again, nobody is. But the more you turn the other cheek, the more that you allow yourself to be nice to people and just get bombarded with negative things back, it's almost like a test of endurance. You ever notice
Oh,
that?
yes.
But when you're angry, it doesn't just stop at one level. It continues to grow and you keep pushing your boundaries until eventually you've reached a point of like of despise for others. It grows. You have to ask yourself why. Personally, I believe that is the core foundation of human nature. We are self-centered by default. We we enjoy the self to the point where we don't care what happens to anybody else. And that's where the Christ mentality comes in because no matter how much he was beaten and bruised, he even shouted out to heaven and said, God, forgive them for they know not what they do.
Mhm.
And it's the same concept with humanity. When we have that standard of love and mercy, it almost doesn't make us want to continue to be happy out of necessity. It makes us want to be happy out of empathy,
Oh, wow.
of putting myself in the position of the person that I'm speaking with.
And I like that you said that about the energy thing, Brian, because I always tell my students, like, I want to do a high five with them, but before they touch me, I'm like, you better be giving me some good energy. And I tease them a lot. But why is it, Brian? And I know you said that humanity is inherently selfish. And it is true that I find that the more you hate, the bigger it grows. Why is it that we tend to, from your opinion, I don't know if we like that feeling because I know I don't. But why do people grow in that hate more than grow in the love? Because to me, that feels so much better.
Yeah. And I do agree that it feels better to be more charitable. But I think it's the again going back to the human nature thing, it's all about self-preservation with the self. And it can often lead to us not wanting to deal with the baggage of others. Think about it, it's like a marriage, you know. Would you rather have a marriage with somebody who has a lot of baggage that they have to carry around, or would you rather have somebody that has all the same views as you? It's a lot easier to be comfortable,
I see.
as
Mhm.
opposed to carrying the weight but you have to be willing to carry the weight to continue to be happy, because at that point, when you help others through their hardships,
Mhm.
you don't necessarily take their baggage. I don't see it that way. And a lot of, and I'm saying this in a general term, is a lot of people that I've personally spoken to, both abroad and here in real life, is that they oftentimes get worn down. And I think to myself, why do you feel the need you have to carry the baggage? Instead, why don't you share it?
Love?
See? You see where I'm
I
going?
do.
It's about compassion of helping carry the load as opposed to taking all of it yourself.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Well, and you said, wouldn't you rather be with somebody who is different than you than somebody that's exactly like you? Because, and me and your father, we are hardly nothing alike. And I like that for several reasons. Because like you said, it's, for me, it's easier to, like, of course, I love him and I know he's watching. That's not why I'm saying it. But with that being said, I think our differences are what make us love each other even more.
Mhm.
Because if he was just like me, and he, like, do you know what I'm saying? That, how interesting, I know I'm fun. I know I'm interesting, but I'm being funny. But I don't want him to be just like me. I want him to be him. And I was drawn to him because of his differences.
Yeah.
But we can bring those different ideas, those different thoughts, those different opinions to the table. I don't look at it as baggage. I look at it as, when he goes through his hardships, I'm here for you. When I go through mine, he's there for me.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, what it's all wrapped up in is love.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's going to work. This hatred thing has got to stop.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that don't work.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody else has any other questions or comments, but keep them coming in. Is there anything else that you want to touch on, Brian, that you can think of?
Not at the moment.
I know, me either. You've answered so many in my head without me even asking. You must be, is it telepathic? Yeah, don't read my mind. You won't like it. You won't like it. But you had mentioned last week, Brian, about the climate of the world. Do you think it's possible that things will ever change?
I think it takes special people to change the world, and unfortunately, the ones that we have in power will never change it, because it's not about us. It's about them.
What do you think about just your neighbor? And I don't mean your neighbor, but I mean people around you, just in general.
I will say I have a good friend that has very different political views than me, different ideas on, life and faith and all of that. We talk about it sometimes we don't. But you know what? I don't think any less of him for it. Even if our views were completely 100% opposite of each other, I would still not look at him based on his views. I look at him as a person.
Mm-hmm.
His life has value and means something. That's what's important.
There it is.
Because the one thing, and this is why when I said earlier, like my political stance, I didn't say one or the other. And I did that intentionally because I don't think that's what matters. Because the one thing that him and I both agree on, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Right.
We have the core values that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because common ground, and it's even established in my debates, I always try to find common ground with my opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Because from there, you can start building the foundation.
Right.
You can build that rapport.
Right.
You can start to discuss the harder things, and we can always reflect back to the foundation
Mm-hmm.
if things go too far out in left field.
Right. And what I like about the fact of you saying that you have common ground, to me, just having that as a core value also means this: you're not trying to sway each other. You're accepting each other for where you're at. And I think that is a lot of where the hatred has come from today, is that if you don't believe the way I do, or if you don't believe what I believe, then, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you should work on yourself first, friend.
Yep. And I've had friends who have left me because of my ideologies on things. And what's funny is that I never wanted to abandon them. They abandoned me. And that's why I say, examine yourself. If you find yourself getting in a position where you leave a friendship or a family member or anything of that nature because of their views, if you're the one leaving,
Oh, that's good.
you have to be the one to take the responsibility of self-examination, because you can't take somebody being different. This is why I can have a conversation about all of these things around the dinner table. Because when I hear other people's opinions, I don't look at them and say, you're wrong. I look at them and I examine, I observe, I calculate. I try to get to the reason why they believe what they believe, not just what they believe. Does that make sense?
Yes, because I think you're valuing them as a human at that point.
Yeah.
Because we're not defined by what we believe or what we don't believe, or whether we agree or don't agree. We're defined by who we are.
Who we are.
And
Everybody has a reason for everything.
right.
And when you get to the point where you can break down the reason, that's when you start to see the veil be lifted and start to be like, oh, I didn't see it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Living beyond the veil. So I'm just going to say that to say this, Brian. We mentioned that. I'm going to be careful because we'll discuss that in another podcast. But Aunt Sandra, if she's still listening, she will understand this perfectly, what I'm saying. But I had mentioned to you one time through one of our podcasts, and I don't know if it was the one on words and thoughts. Like there was like 2 or 3 that we had done on words, thoughts, and the mind and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm exploring a few different things here about being more than human, about living beyond the veil. And it's pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, it's like that story we listened to in the car when we were heading down to vacation. And you said you wanted to write some things down about it.
Oh, that. Yes, that. Oh, my word. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You notice how in the story, when they came together, that they took knowledge from everyone.
Yeah.
That it was a unification, right?
Yes. That was good. That was a good story.
For context, it was a horror story, but the irony is that it actually had a lot of truth in it.
It did. Yeah. To a lot of spiritual stuff that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
Which was, yeah.
But do you notice that when they combined on a mental level, they didn't throw out the useless information. Everything mattered.
It does.
And that's the thing. You don't have a conversation with somebody with differing views to try and get them to necessarily change their mind.
Mm-mm.
You build that common ground and you try to find the compromise. And I know there's things I could give as an example in this discussion, but I don't know if it would really go against the TOS, so I'm going to just not mention it. But it's like those really hard arguments in the political climate. It's not a yes or a no answer to me. It's a what about this kind of thing, where it's finding the small things that we can build, because all it takes is one spark to start a fire, one brick to build a house.
And that's why I always say it's very important to value not only everyone, yes, as a human being, but their opinions.
To value the opinions. And to me, it's not even so much about valuing the opinion, because there are things people say I don't agree with, but it's about valuing the thought behind it.
The deeper meaning, like why they say what they say. Is it also about what they believe? I don't know how to word it.
Yeah, it's going beyond just the opinion.
Okay.
Because that's how I am. You know me, I observe everything. So when I hear somebody say something, I don't just go, that's wrong. I go, why do you think that? And then I start breaking apart their belief. And sometimes when we get down to the real deep parts of it, I see it in their eyes like, ooh, I never thought of it that way.
So do you think some people believe what they believe. Yes, I know. Okay, I'm going to back up a minute. So I know people believe a lot of times what they believe because that's what they've been told.
Right.
But when you talk about breaking down, when you're talking to them, what they say, do you think all of a sudden they realize exactly that they believe what they believe because they've been told that, instead of really taking that truth for what it should be instead of just at face value?
Yeah, sometimes. It's kind of like the example that I gave in one of our normal podcast episodes of like telling your child not to touch the stove. You can tell your kid not to do it because you said so, or you can tell them why, or you can allow them to find out on their own. It's like it's the understanding of the knowledge behind it or the intent behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's always more.
There's always more.
Like, people don't believe, yes, you can believe what you believe because you've been fed, but usually most times it isn't that way, is it, Brian?
No.
So what happened, right? I mean, for me, believing what I believed the whole time I grew up is because I was told and brought to church. That's just what you did.
Yeah. You were never able to ask the hard questions.
No, because you didn't ask the hard questions.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to ask the hard questions.
Everything. And it starts with questioning your own ideas. And this is the thing with me, is that I didn't wake up one morning and just say, I want to believe all of this just for the heck of it. I wanted to, heck, you get it? Anyway.
Like, what do you do?
I asked myself, what do I believe that could be wrong? That opened the door to challenge my own worldview. And I started looking up the polar opposites. And then I started noticing patterns. And then I started noticing intent. And then I started to find the lies.
And how are you doing with that?
I have not been more free in my entire life.
I told you that the other day, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm thankful for what happened. I really am. I mean, at the time I wasn't, but now I'm more free than I've ever been, because you know what? I know that it's okay. The intent of the things that I do are not evil.
Yeah.
So it is okay.
Yeah.
And
you can look at something from a surface perspective and say whether or not it's good or evil, but when you dive beneath the surface, you realize there's more to that iceberg than you thought there was.
Much, much more.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very freeing.
Yeah.
So, well, I think I am all set for tonight, unless you have anything else.
Nope. I
do have a quote that I want to read, but if you need to talk, go ahead.
Well, I'll just say this. For everybody that listened that may have differing viewpoints than me based on what I've said tonight, I want you to know that I do not devalue you for that. And I'm happy that you can have the strength and encouragement to believe what you believe. But my other point is, I just want you to take the time when you can to maybe examine things that I've said, things that you may have been told, and realize that when it comes to the world that we live in, it's not black and white.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So do what you can to always find the truth and question everything that you believe and question everything you hear. Because without that questioning, we will continue to be beholden to society, be beholden to false ideologies, and it doesn't lead to anywhere other than just more bondage.
Right. And you shortchange yourself because you don't grow. And don't be scared.
It's very easy to go through life and just to believe one thing because it's what makes you feel good, or it's because it's what you've been told your whole life. It takes real courage to go against the grain, to swim against the flow of the river. You have no idea what you can find when you start digging. I mean, the Bible even says, seek and you will find.
Yep, exactly. Oh, Jessica says, love you both. Thank you, guys. We love you, Jess. I know my hope is to see you on Monday at school, getting ready to do another week. So I just want to read this last quote. So it's called Exploring Through Your Journey, and it starts with this. And I do have the person who wrote this. It says, let your mind start a journey through a strange new world. Leave all the thoughts of the world you knew before. Let your soul take you where you long to be. Close your eyes. Let your spirit start to soar, and you'll live as you've never lived before. And this is from a person, I obviously I don't know this person, Eric Fromm. And I just want to kind of reiterate, excuse me, like what Brian was saying, is with this podcast, all we ever want to do is give hope, encouragement, and change. We never want to judge or belittle or give shame or make you feel like your opinions don't matter or only our opinions matter. And I'm sure you've gotten that from tonight. But more than anything, whatever or wherever your journey takes you, just keep going. There might be a time when you're going to need a breather, like I have several times, and it's okay. It really is. But just keep your heart, your mind, your soul, your spirit open to explore. That's it. And you'll find your way. But find people around you that will give you that encouragement and hopefully build you. That's the whole point. We shouldn't be tearing each other down. We should be building each other up. Because at the end of the day, we are humanity, but we are divine. There are a lot of things that I think even we still need to find out. And that's okay. We will.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So I'm going to leave you with our quote, if you're good.
Yep.
So this is our quote from Give 'em Heck. Believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough. Know that we can be found on many different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. Please like, share, and subscribe. Turn on any notifications so that you'll know that when our next podcasts are up. We do have a Facebook page called Give 'em Heck Podcast. We do have an email at giveemheck@gmail.com. And we would have another podcast next week.
That one's going to be a normal episode.
That one's going to be normal, so it will not be live. And we will be on if you can join our Facebook, which would be great. That's where we leave all of our announcements, anything coming up or whatever. So if you ever want to know what's going on. And yeah, I think that's it for tonight.
All right. Well, you all have a good rest of your evening or day, depending on where you're watching. And we'll see you next time. Good night, everyone.
Good night.